Hey nerds, we are talking about The Wheel of Time, episode 208, finale, entitled What Was Meant to Be. We are going to review it and then break it down, starting now. Welcome to Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Paula.
Hey, so this is the finale of season 2, and the spoiler-free logline of this episode is fate leads Rand and the others to an inevitable showdown with their most formidable enemies yet. So, Paula, what did you think of this episode?
I think this was my favorite episode in the season, just because there were a lot to tie up, a lot of loose ends, as I will call, and again, just a lot of unveiling with some of the relationship, the past, especially when it comes to the dark friend, Ishamael and Lanfear. So it was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit as well. Like you said, I think the whole season was structured very well. I think on reflection, some people had better story arcs than others, but like in general, I think everyone had a good arc, and some people had some great arcs. So really appreciated that. There was definitely some surprises here in this episode. Probably bigger than the surprise in the last episode that Moiraine's nephew was a dark friend. Yeah, it was a good episode. It's also interesting, this episode, and we can get into this when we actually break it down, of course, the different factions that converge and interplay, because there's so many different people that converge, and not everyone is like 100% great or 100% evil. In this final episode, we of course are rooting for the kids, right? The kids from the Two Rivers, and we're rooting for Moiraine, but there are all kinds of other actors as well who have varying motivations, and some of those motivations are understandable. I appreciated the gray areas of the episode. It's definitely more adult than other fantasy sci-fi stuff, more gradations, and again, we can get into the specifics of that as well. But yeah, it was a really good episode. How would you rate this episode?
I will give it an 8 as well.
Okay. What about the season overall? How would you rate the season?
I'll give it maybe a 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'll give it a 7.
I think I'm going to be more generous about this episode and also the season. I think I'm probably going to give this episode a 9. I liked it quite a bit. I appreciated where, like I said, there were some weaker elements where, and we can talk about, like I said, some people's storylines, but there was like a really satisfying thing this episode and really interesting things in this episode there. So yeah, I can give this a 9. I think I'm going to give this a movie marathon. The season as a whole, I think I will give it an 8 road trip, just because, like I said, while I think everyone got a okay to good arc, I think some people had some weaker arcs, and we can talk about some characters that I actually like a lot that I wished had a better arc. So I can't give it anything high. I can give it anything higher than a 8, and I think it's still better than a 7 for me anyway, because there's a lot of, I think that a lot of this season was really well structured in general, and they didn't hit it out of the park, but they got very close by just having a lot of long episodes, and they structured it like a season as opposed to broken up like a giant movie that's just broken up. They're like things that happened in each episode, and they wove into each other. So yeah, it was a good season, I think. All right, so we had to talk about the season. Any other thoughts before we get into it?
Yeah.
So if you're enjoying the conversation, please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if you can only do one, like the video. It helps us out, helps other people find the video, and it makes the YouTube algorithm happy. So with that, spoilers ahead. All right, so we have, as always, some screenshots, and last episode started 20 years ago. This episode starts 3,000 years ago, much further back of a flashback here with Therin and Ishamael. So they have a shield around Ishamael, and Therin is having this conversation. Ishamael says that his cohorts are going to save him, and Therin says, "Well, we have all your friends. We caught them already." And I think Therin is here saying, "I know how much you hate being alive," which we talked about in the previous episode. Ishamael really wants the wheel to be broken because he feels a lot of pain from his past lives and his current life. He just wants everything to end. And instead of giving him death, what he does, because as we find out later on in this episode, they're friends, and they had been friends before he fell to the Dark One. They put him in suspended animation, and they put all of them in suspended animation, I think. So yeah, that that's where he ends up. So, and that's where he was for 3,000 years. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that there's all these factions, right? We have the white, what are they called? I forget. The children, children of light. Sorry, I had to look at my notes here. Children of light. So they aren't necessarily the good guys, especially when they interact with our favorite people, like the kids, because the kids have powers and they think that they're witches and they're basically witch killers. But they are, if you're talking about them against the Shuai, right? The Shushans, they're going in there to liberate that city because the Shishan are like slavers. So they're not necessarily the good guys, but I guess if you have to choose between them and the slavers, you want them. But we also see like later on when they interact with the kids, they're not necessarily, again, the 100% good guys. And also Egwene sees them and attacks them later on as well because of what they did to her. Okay, so they're here in the ways. This is just following from the previous episode, and this is also again here Moiraine trying to lie without lying, and what she says here is that Ishamael took my powers. Again, not a lie, but she neglects to say that she got her powers back, but Lanfear knows that she got her powers back, so she pushes her out of the ways into Falm, basically to deploy her for later on in the episode.
Basically had everything planned out, like she knew exactly what was going to happen, and she essentially positioned
and Lan in the right place,
and Lan for a very specific purpose that they know.
She planned very well. Although at the very end, it looks like Ishamael got the best of her. We'll get to that, but he realized that she was going to double cross him, and he tried to counteract the things that she was going to do. But she won the day, but I don't know if she wins the war. But yeah, so this is Perrin and Aviendha, the other Aiel, going into Falm, and he tells the wolf to stay back. And this is like a genius way to attack the city. You see that off to the side there, that mist on the ground, not the mist in the air, but the mist in the ground. So the children of light are like slowly approaching, and you can't really see it. It just looks like a mist is coming in. Although the Aiel, when they come into the city, they notice it and they say that's not supposed to be there. Like right here when Perrin is looking at it, it's like that's not supposed to be there. So they clock it as something that means something that's going to go down. So yeah, this is their conversation where he realizes that she's working against him. I didn't notice this earlier, but all these stones are basically where all the other ones are. And like I said, he gets the last laugh, even though she wins the day, because she tries to arrange for these things to be taken out into the ocean and dropped in the ocean, but she's not prepared for what he decides to do, because the only reason he let her out, and we established this earlier on in the season, right? All of the other ones are like crazy or incompetent or very dangerous. So he let her out, even though he knew that it was a possibility that she was going to betray him. Because I think the other thing that Moiraine says later on in this episode is that they used to be friends, right?
Yeah. Well, not just friends. They used to be
the three of them. The Lews, Therin, Lanfear, and Ishamael. Yeah, inseparable. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. That's the other thing. So I have a prediction for later on, because they're friends. Like they're friends in this life. Like they were friends in a past life, for something that could happen with the 5 kids. I want to see what you think about that later on. So they have these kids making this smoke, and then they come in and they attack. Like I said, that was a brilliant plan to confuse them. So here we have Nynaeve using the arm thing, the brace on Seta, and to get information. And here, this is Renna basically threatening to cut out her tongue or her hands as she disobeys her. So it's interesting. I have varying feelings about Renna, but I think they have the actress play her as more desperate than evil, which is interesting, given where she ends up in this episode. Here's a fan. Yeah. He was tasked with corrupting Mat. He says that he asked whether or not to kill Ran, rather. And he says that I know how Ran dies. And he looks down at the knife. So he knows what he needs to do here. He brings the ruby dagger here to Mat. So again, torturing her here, and she gets the information that she needs to get. Nynaeve is going to the tower. More temptation for Mat here, and he's left with the dagger. And this is where they have the conversation about the kids. This is also where she reconnects with him. This scene is like so intimate. Like their bond is like I said, very intimate. Next to Xuan, I think that he's the closest person to her in the world. They get the Horn of Valyr, and they talk about leaving, and Loial is we are the heroes of this age. We should probably start acting like it. So they make a plan to go and try to save Egwene here. What I really like about Egwene's story and why I gave this a 9 is that you have all these people converging on her. And I was talking about this not last week, not for 207, but for 206, when I was like, I wonder how they're going to work together to save her. I think her story would have been okay if other people helped save her, but I think it's a lot better that she saved herself. Now, we can talk about whether or not it's good how far she went, because like I said, I think that they have the actress Renna act terrible towards her, but also like conflicted towards her, right? She's not terrible towards her all the time. She's trying to get close to her. She's trying to, but Nynaeve is like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, I don't think she was conflicted about it at all. That was just her method. And when they first met, she did say that she believes that her and her bond have a bond and some type of relationship, as opposed to what most of them do. So that was just her like
I understand
method.
It was her method. I'm not trying to excuse her at all. They're all slavers. I think that it was definitely an intentional choice by the writers to have her play it that way and have her seem more, not necessarily good, but more complicated than if she came in there and just started abusing her. She, in her twisted mind, she thinks that she should have like a friendship or kind of a relationship with her. And she thinks that between the two of them, they can accomplish two really great things. That's why at the end of the last episode, when she used her power to knock down everyone else, she was so proud of her, but not just proud of her, but proud of what they did together. So that's why it was, like I said, it's complicated. I don't necessarily think what Nynaeve does is, Egwene does is bad, but there could be an argument for another choice. There's an argument for another choice.
Well, as for me, I was okay with it.
All right, we can talk about it when we get to it. This guy, Lord Turak, I thought there was going to be much more of a fight here, but he has an IO blade, a heron blade. He's like, he makes this giant stance and like he kills all of them, and then this guy murders himself. So yeah, then we get connection here with the Shoshan guards come, and Ingtar, I think, dies here trying to give them space. This is where we find out that this guy from the first or second episode who brought that stuff to Moiraine was basically sent to her by Lanfear. The poem that talks about Lanfear that he sold her when he was like, oh, I can give you these rocks, and he was sent there by Lanfear. So Lanfear has been playing this entire situation from the very beginning, working against Ishamael, because you remember that poem is what started her on her journey to go back to Ran and reconnect with Lan and try to save him from Lanfear. So she basically gave this guy a poem telling Moiraine that Lanfear has risen so that she would come and save him, so that she could use her later on to like herald the dragon at the end. So she's been playing the long game. Like I said, she's very smart. She definitely won this day, but not just this day, but she's obviously been playing Ishamael for the time that she was released. But he got the last laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as those rocks, I believe these are
that's the other Forsaken.
No, I think they're the rocks of Ishamael's.
Right. But he was imprisoned the same way. He was imprisoned the same way that they were. So like he broke her out. All of them were in prison. Like all of the Forsaken were in prison in rocks. That's what the beginning of the episode was. Lews Therin imprisoned them all in rocks. And at the end of the last season is when Ran accidentally broke out Ishamael from one of those rocks. So Ishamael broke out Lanfear, and earlier in the season they were talking to each other about why they didn't let anyone else out because the other ones are crazy. That's why she was going to pay this guy to drop them in the middle of the ocean so that no one could ever get them, because it would be impossible to get to them in the middle of the ocean. But it doesn't work out that way for her. So Lady, I forget what her name is, Lady whatever, she finds out that Turak is dead, and she gets instructions here to gentle Rand from her ship with her Damane. And then we have this scene here with Mat just being crafty and getting out of the room here, using the dagger, but not actually touching the dagger very smartly. So Egwene was originally compliant, and I think she was compliant because she was hitting some of the children of the light, but she's looking down here and she's seeing people scramble, and she's seeing that she's hurting people, so she decides to say no here. And Renna tries to enforce what she said earlier about cutting out her tongue, and this is when the tower gets hit by stone, and Seta gets shot by an arrow. And I think this is to telegraph to the audience that when they die die, the collar gets off of their neck. So yeah, this interaction, because we see another one coming off of the Blue Aja who also died, and that's when Egwene has the idea. Yeah, so Mat connects with Perrin here, but there's a bunch of guys after him, and yeah, this is where she puts it on her. And this is where we also find out that they can channel, the Soldan can channel, that's why they can connect with the Dome. They just have very little power. So yeah. Here's what I think. Actually, you know what? I'll wait for later on. You think that it was okay for her to kill her? I think that after she was freed, she could have stopped. She definitely could have stopped here, and she decides not to. She decides to just watch her die, which is, again, she's been wanting to kill her for probably a little while now. She beat her.
She tortured her.
I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her. I'm concerned about Egwene, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. So yeah, they split up a little bit here, and Rand gets to her, and he says that I came to save you, but I guess I didn't need to. Again, I think that's really satisfying that she saved herself, even though there was like a bunch of people converging.
Mm-hmm.
Perrin was going to come try to help save her. Nynaeve and Elayne was trying to save her. Rand was going to try to save her, and she saved herself. I really appreciate that, but I think that I'm concerned about her. So he uses the Dama here to shield him. He can't use his powers. He basically has a conversation here with him. And then Mat uses the knife to get to the horn. And we get this great reveal with Mat as well. I feel like the whole thing with Nynaeve and Elayne, they were wasted in this episode. And this is one of the things that one of the reasons why I couldn't give the entire season a higher mark. I really appreciate what they did with her inside of the gates earlier on in the season, but after a while they weren't used for anything. They spent a whole lot of time with her on the floor, not being able to use her powers, and she was like, oh, just push it through. They wasted both of these characters. Everyone else was more in the mix. They were here on the ground for a very long time.
Yeah, I agree. This season would have been, or at least the last couple episodes would have felt the same without.
I thought it was going to go towards something. Well, there is something that's going to happen. Like I said, this is why I'm concerned. There is something that's going to. They needed her here. They needed Elayne here, but they could have just gone back to the White Tower and told everyone about Lantern.
Yes,
I think Elayne needed to be here for something that's coming up later on, but they wasted Nynaeve in the second half of the season. They had a lot of interesting stuff with her, but then as soon as she got to Falm, she couldn't use her powers consistently at all. So hopefully they have more development with Nynaeve the next season, because she's one of my favorite characters in the entire show, just because of her like no nonsense, like down to earth, like nature, like trying to protect the other kids, because she was the wisdom of the two rivers. But I think she was wasted in the second half of the season. So yeah, this is the guy. He notices Perrin again, and then the wolf comes to save him, and what's his name, Bolden father, kills the wolf, which makes him go on a rage. Perrin go on a rage. What's his name? Bornhald kills the wolf, and he sees his spirit go, and then he murders him, and they're gonna be rivals now. His son and Perrin in the next season. I guess we'll see where that goes. So I really like this development for Mat. He finally figures out where his place in the world is. He's actually, I think at this point everything's slowing down, and he's realizing that he is one of the warriors, the heroes of the past. Yes, heroes of the horn. And Uno comes back, the short guy who was boastful, and he even boasts, of course I'm a hero of the horn. So yeah, he remembers his pet. So like, we were talking about this for the last episode, whether or not Ishamael was actually showing him all his lives, and apparently he was not. He was just showing him a selection of his lives. He wasn't showing him all of his lives. So yeah, so he's the hero of the horn. He remembers his training, and yeah, like I said, it looks like they're going to have a rivalry in the next season, these two guys. So Uno gives him his shield, and they all start to converge on Elayne and Rand. She's just using her power, her knowledge of wisdom to get them push the thing through. And again, not only did Egwene have a really great scene killing her oppressor, she also has a really great scene coming up in a minute. So Mat thinks that he's helping. He throws the dagger, nearly kills Rand here. So I guess the prophecy actually was fulfilled, but Egwene is just, again, she, with her newfound power and also confidence in herself, stands up to Ishamael. Like, she can't beat Ishamael, but she's powerful enough to hold him back, it seems.
And she gives him a hard time because she does
give him a hard time. Perrin helps with the shield when he comes. But and then we also see Moiraine start to destroy these ships that are holding Ran down. This is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about when I said I think Egwene is in trouble. You got to remember that Moiraine says that Therin and Lanfear and Ishamael used to be friends. And Lan's observation was, oh, just like these kids. Lanfear and Therin were lovers, and then he had a different wife. And I think another thing is going to happen again here. He looks up and he says, "Ooh, who is this? Oh, I'm Elayne. And look how they light her here. Look how they light her here." I think.
Hello. And the way he looks at her, the way he looks at her. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But right, I think
Egwene I think Egwene might get tempted by the dark. She's going to lose Ran to her.
Yeah.
Like, she could have not killed that person if she decided to kill that person.
I see that. You are so right about that. History is repeating itself with these kids.
I'm worried about Egwene. So
yeah, now that you have said that, I agree.
So yeah, like I said, I'm not crying a tear for Renna. I'm more, like I said, I'm more afraid for Egwene because she crossed that line. And when Ishamael got there and he talked to him around about it, he said, "Oh, look at what you've done. Look at what you brought your friends to. You made her a murderer." So yeah, I'm really concerned about it. So yeah, anyway, she destroys the ships and breaks the shield off of Ren, which allows him to come and kill Ishamael. And it seems like Ishamael says that he doesn't hear anything, so maybe he's not going to be reincarnated. Whatever Ran does here, it seems to kill him permanently, which is what he wanted, and what Therin wouldn't give him because he was his friend. He just entrapped him. So yeah, and this is, I guess, button on the episode is Moiraine announcing to the world that he's the dragon reborn. And again, like I said, she won the day. She put Moiraine in the right place. She orchestrated this, and she double-crossed Ishamael, but Ishamael had the last laugh here. He let them all go. They're all broken. Not just, so this is, what is her name? I think she's the crazy one. She is Mogadine. So she's the crazy one, and it looks like as powerful as Lanfear is, she might be more powerful because she was able to hold her in place here and threaten her and tell her to stay out of the way. But she's not the only one out. Like, all of them out. All of those stones are broken. They're all out. And she threatens her and she says, "Stay out of our way." And the way that this episode ends is basically her saying, "God's help you, Rand," because I don't think she can help him anymore. So yeah, I think it was a pretty satisfying season. Really looking forward to seeing where the show goes. It looks like it's doing well on the Nielsen's chart, so hopefully that they will renew it for our third season, and hopefully the writer's strike is over, but hopefully the actor strike will be over soon as well, so they can get to the next season. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm concerned about Moiraine and where she's. Sorry, not Moiraine. Egwene. I was concerned about Egwene, but Moiraine got her powers back last episode. Perrin seems to have a rival now. Actually, two, because the black guy didn't die. The black guy who's the Children of the Light didn't die.
I'm hoping next season they tell us a little bit more about Perrin.
Yeah, his wolf powers.
And his powers, and yeah. I've been waiting for that, and I was a bit disappointed that they didn't go more.
Like I said, I think some people had some interesting arcs. Egwene had the best arc of the season, followed by Rand, I think, followed by Moiraine, then maybe Perrin, then Mat, and then Nynaeve is all the way at the end. She had some really good stuff at the beginning, but like I said, she was wasted at the end, by the end of the season. But yeah, I think Mat reveal at the end was really cool, but they didn't use him much at the beginning of the season. Perrin, I feel like they used throughout the season, but there wasn't a whole lot of development. So
yeah,
but like you said, there's so many characters, which is why we have a whole our notes. Not only our notes, the way that we do this, we don't do this for other shows. Our notes actually have photos so we can remember the people are, because there's just so many characters, and not just the characters, the one-off characters, but like you said, Paula, there are a lot of main characters that are important. There's like Lan, Egwene, Perrin, Mat, Rand. Those are the heroes. We have to keep track of all those heroes, and then there are the villains, and then there's the secondary characters. Leandrin, who's Moraine's rival. There's a lot of characters to keep track of. It's fun though, and not only that, but it's also the track of the cities and the different things that they're going after, like the Horn of the Lair. It's a lot, but it's fun. Looking forward to the third season. So yeah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so no, I just really enjoyed this. So I want more.
All right, so that is what we think, but we want to hear what you guys think. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. All right, guys. Bye.